The 1987 movie Lethal Weapon is without question one of the best films from that decade. Seriously, you take Dan Glover and Mel Gibson, and they have some good chemistry. This is certainly a highlight of both of these actors' careers. Directed by the late Richard Donner, who also gone on to direct the following three sequels. The story of this film is that a pair of LAPD detectives, one is a former Green Beret who is suicidal following the death of his wife, Martin Riggs, played by Mel Gibson. The other is a veteran officer, Roger Murtaugh, who just turned 50 years old, and he has to deal with the on the edge Martin, who is his new partner. Man, I have to say, I always liked this film over the years, and the mere fact it's 35 years old, that's something real interesting. The chemistry between Mel Gibson and Dan Glover is great. The antagonist that Gary Busey played, Mr. Joshua, he was a nice foil to both of these detectives here. And, there's a lot of great action scenes in this movie. Even though this film is 35 years old, it's still a great buddy cop film. I still enjoy it to this day. And this film is a prime example of how great action films were during that decade. Over the years, I always appreciate this film, especially the franchise. Sure, it kind of waned a little bit in the later sequels. Nonetheless, so at the end of the day, this is still a great action film, even all these years later. One interesting thing I found out about this movie is that Dan Glover wasn't even originally considered. The two actors that was considered for this film was Bruce Willis and Mel Gibson. In fact, Bruce Willis was offered the role of Martin Riggs. Yeah, that's right, the same eccentric, over the top, just crazy cop that Mel Gibson ended up playing. That went to Bruce Willis, but he turned it down, and a year later he ended up doing Die Hard. Talk about how odd things work out for everybody. Nonetheless, though, shouts out to Shane Black. He did a great job writing the story of this film. There's not a minute wasted. Most of the film is about character development. That's what we see with Martin and Roger. Roger doesn't like Martin and vice versa. They can't stand each other. In fact, there's a particular moment in the film where Roger pretty much screams and yells at Martin for being careless because he jumped off a building with a, jumper. Luckily, there was this air flotation device, but, pretty much, Martin breaks procedure because, he's in a dark place, he's depressed. It's not until the end of the movie where he accepts his wife, being gone. And basically, he owes Roger for that. It's some good character development. We see Roger, we see his home life. There is so much that I could talk about of this film, that this movie, wow, it's great. It is one of the best films, like I mentioned before, of the 1980s. And this is, without question, a great action film. I'm giving this film a 8 out of 10. 35 years later, this film still shines above the rest of the movies. Now, don't get me wrong, the rest of the films in the franchise, they start to go downhill probably after the second movie. And this one, without question, has the best story out of the four films. And thankfully, this film wasn't overstuffed with more exposition, because if they would add more plot points, then that pretty much would have ruined this film. But thankfully, it's all self-contained and it flows pretty well. And the action scenes is also just another great thing about this film. Nonetheless, though, while this film ain't perfect, it still is a very enjoyable and entertaining movie in my opinion. And that's my review of the film Lethal Weapon. Okay, leave your comments down below in the section and let me know what you think about this film. Alright, up next will be my review of Lethal Weapon 2. Alright, this is Slim God 172 saying, peace out.